NTA. NTA International News.
INEC cancels elections in 4 local government areas in rerun elections in Rivers State. Information Minister seeks collaboration between Nigeria's public media and Al Jazeera in capacity building for journalists. Plus, World Islamic Conference ends in Abuja. World leaders urge to promote peace and tolerance. Good evening and thanks for joining us for the news at 7. I am Fumi Wakama. Coalition of results is underway in Rivers State following the rerun elections into the 3 senatorial districts, 12 federal constituencies and the State Assembly. Reports, however, say the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has cancelled elections in 4 local government areas in the rerun elections in Rivers State. Resident Electoral Commissioner Aniede Ikoiwak says the action follows electoral irregularities. Kingsley Amajiri reports that most places where elections held witnessed low turnout and delayed distribution of election materials. The ECOWAS Observer Mission has held consultations with other international bodies ahead of the rerun presidential polls in Niger. Head of the mission, Professor Amos Sawyer, says it became necessary since they share the same view on having credible and acceptable election. Leah Katum Babatunde in Yemen brings us up to speed on the meeting.
The rerun presidential elections in the Republic of Nigeria is hours away. This time, 75 observers are deployed to the country as against the previous 130. Briefing them ahead of postings to their various units, head of the mission, Professor Amos Sawyer, advised they exhibit a high sense of security consciousness, obedience to the laws of the land, as well as remain the eyes and ears of the regional body. He said the mission will continue to dialogue with both parties in the elections to achieve an acceptable process in the long run.
People are always concerned about winning and losing, and the dynamics of the political process continues at all time. We are here to observe what goes on, and we are doing everything to appeal to the people of this wonderful country that they have an obligation to themselves and to the sub-region.
The mission also had the new ECOWAS Vice President Edward Singate on board, who encouraged observers to carry the ideals of the regional body along to all regions of the country.
I would like to urge you all to be conscious of your personal security and endeavor to abide by the tips the security experts will give you. I'd also like you to rest assured that all necessary measures are being taken to guarantee your safety.
The team was also at the Independent National Electoral Commission (CENI) to lend its support to the electoral body amid mounting tensions as the opposition in the contest calls for a boycott. Elections will hold Sunday, the 20th of March 2016. Nyame, Leah Katungbaba Tunde, NTA News.
And from the Republic of Benin, the Ministry of Interior, Public Security and Religious Affairs says it has put in place necessary security measures for the second round of the 2016 presidential election in the country. The ministry confirmed this to election observation teams of ECOWAS and Francophone organizations during their consultations with relevant stakeholders. Correspondent Musibao Danwahab has details.
The first round of the 2016 presidential election in Benin was adjudged peaceful, transparent and credible by observers, but ECOWAS mission, in collaboration with the Francophone organization, are seeking even better arrangements for the runoff. The heads of mission believe this is necessary, more so for the confidence of electorates in their arrangements, and to ensure tighter security as the competition gets tougher. The teams met with the Secretary General of the Ministry of Interior, Public Security and Religious Affairs.
He is very confident that things will, go the right way, and that all the necessary measures and steps are taken to to secure the country, to secure the territory, and allow citizens to do their, their duty as citizens and go and vote and make a decision about their next president.
At a meeting with Sena, President of the electoral body Emmanuel Tiendo says no compromise. They are ready to improve on the earlier achievements to deliver a credible election.
Challenges facing the media. Mustafa Swag talked about the challenge of covering the Arab Spring and the risk Al Jazeera correspondents face. Fulai Mohammed, operating from the trenches as opposition to form a government, was an uphill task, but the media, he said, assisted in no small way. At the end of the meeting, a partnership was agreed.
More in particular, areas of cooperation between Al Jazeera, a government media organization like the NTA in particular. The whole idea is we want to see how we can have a kind of a chain program between Al Jazeera and the NTA, and how Al Jazeera can help us in capacity building.
As you know, Nigeria is a very important country for Al Jazeera. We have one of the largest, actually, audiences in the world. They are in Nigeria, and we consider Nigeria a gold mine for news and stories. It's the biggest country in Africa in terms of population, a rich country with rich traditions, and we hope that this is just a kind of another step toward having more and deeper relationship with that country.
This partnership, the Minister for Information and Culture says, will expand the capacity of public media in Nigeria. From the city center Rotana in Doha, Qatar, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Many thanks, Anthony. In back home, the federal government has solicited the support of the World Bank towards developing the country's livestock subsector. Minister of Agriculture, Audu Ogbe, made the appeal when he hosted a delegation from the World Bank led by its Vice President, Mukhtar Diop. Musa Baba Aliu has more.
The delegation from the World Bank were in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture to discuss ways of supporting Nigeria towards attaining food sufficiency within a very short period. As the government introduced new policy in the agricultural sector, the World Bank urged the ministry to come up with an initiative that will address farmers-herdsmen conflict.
At a time when the commodity prices are going down, where countries like Nigeria and other countries are facing this situation, this is a time, a wonderful opportunity to accelerate growth in other sectors.
The minister, Audu Ogbe, said the government is concerned over the huge amount of money spent on importation of milk and other dairy products, and plans are underway to address roaming and migration of livestock within and outside the country.
I would like the World Bank and all of us on the west coast of Africa to get together and solve that problem. And as a result of that roaming around, the quality of milk which we can harvest from the cattle is near zero, 1 liter a day.
The government is to establish grazing reserves and pasture production centers in the country. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
As the nation desperately seeks other revenue sources, the Minister of Transportation says federal government is disposed to exploring the opportunities in the maritime sector of the economy. The minister stated this in Abuja while declaring open a 2-day maritime workshop on transport cost and connectivity of West and Central African countries. The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development in its 2015 review of maritime transport says that in Africa, for which Nigeria generates about 60% of the trade in the sub-region, pays between 40% and 70% more on the average for international trade due to poor shipping connectivity. The Minister of Transportation, represented by the Minister of State Aviation, Hadi Sarika, said the present administration has the political will and enjoined participants to resolve to change the negative narrative.
The main policy thrust of this administration is to evolve a multimodal, integrated and sustainable transport system with greater emphasis on rail and inland waterways transportation in order to foster quality connectivity within the system.
Correspondent Ogechi Paul reports that the two-day workshop drew participants from relevant organizations within and outside Nigeria. The World Islamic Conference in Abuja has ended with an appeal to world leaders to ensure justice and promote peace and tolerance with a view to addressing all forms of terrorism and violence in their domain. This is coming as the conference condemned and exonerated Islam from acts of terrorism affecting global peace. Musa Babalio has details.
The conference is concerned over the global peace threatened by rising acts of terrorism occasioned by extremism in the name of Islam. It therefore observed that despite the fact that Islam remains a religion of peace, terrorists often hide under its name to commit crimes.
And if that is the case, then the best people to counter, to fight against this menace are the ulama who really know Islam. Because those people who know Islam in reality are in the better position to show, oh, this is not Islam and this is Islam.
On the topic, Islamic concept of world peace, a researcher in international issues from the United Arab Emirates is of the view that injustice and imbalance in the distribution of power and social amenities contributed largely to the insecurity in the world.
There is need for Muslim governments definitely to push for the reform that will bring justice in international relations, in international affairs, so that the pretext that these people are having always to indoctrinate innocent Muslims, to indoctrinate and brainwash naive Muslims to join in or forming this kind of terror organization will be averted.
It has become necessary for the Muslim world to undertake a review of its condition and to reassert the relevance of its faith and civilization towards enhancing peace and security in the world.
The conference was organized by the Muslim World League Saudi Arabia in conjunction with the Izala, an indigenous Islamic group. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has called on institutions of higher learning to be at the forefront of the present administration's campaign on the diversification of the nation's economy. President Buhari, represented by the Executive Secretary, National Universities Commission, Julius Okoje, stated this at the combined convocation of the Usman Dan Fodio University, Sokoto.
I therefore challenge all universities to embrace education for sustainable development and mainstream the various SDGs in the teaching, research, and community services of our universities.
The 40th anniversary book of the institution was later unveiled. Galua Village in Buhari Area Council of Abuja has received 3 new projects aimed at improving basic education and healthcare for the people of the community. The projects are at the instance of the Rotary Club of Maitama. Moplang Dakok has the report.
Galua Village got a donation of a school library and a renovation of conveniences in the junior secondary school. Hospital equipment and drugs were also donated to Galua Health Center. District Governor 9125, Mr. Mike Omotosho, who commissioned the project, said the club is set to assist government's efforts in education and health care.
So where there are cases that we need to quickly intervene, we intervene. So we're like the little governments that the people will see.
We have a Rotary Community Corps and their job is to guard these projects jealously and give us feedback from time to time, because we don't want to come after a year and the whole place is run down.
Some of the beneficiaries appreciated the gesture.
We appreciate their effort because they've really, bridged our work.
They came in and they made the renovations. People now start coming. We have enough patients that are attending antenatal care. We have up to 20 numbers of mothers that are taking family planning injectable.
Most of the times when the clinic was not well built, usually trek to the other neighboring village to take some drugs, but now we thank God for bringing new clinic onto us.
The club remains resolute to reducing the high rate of maternal, child and infant mortality. In Abuja, Muplang Dakok, NTA News.
And sharing news there for people of that community. You are watching NTA News International. There'll be more reports after this timeout. Join us again.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words. Run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
You're still watching NTA News International. The past 1 week has been quite eventful. Let's now join Obiageli Ugwoke for those events that made headlines in the outgoing week.
Very warm welcome to this segment, The Week in Review. I'm Obiageli Ugwoke. This week, Nigeria and Equatorial Guinea signed an agreement on the establishment of a combined maritime policing and security patrol committee. The agreement is expected to enhance security in the Gulf of Guinea and help curb maritime crimes.
Solid infrastructure will sustain economic development.
Above all, our admiration for the intense struggle carrying out with success.
While in Malabo, President Muhammadu Buhari received Equatorial Guinea's highest national honor, the Grand Collar of the Order of the Independence. The president pledged to make significant contributions to peace and stability. The World Islamic Conference was also held in Abuja during the week. President Muhammadu Buhari, while describing the conference as apt, challenged religious leaders to inculcate the real teachings of Islam and mobilize followers against terrorism and corruption. And Vice President Yemi Osinbajo on Tuesday in Abuja pledged Nigeria's support to the Paris Agreement on climate change reached at the end of the meeting held in France last December. He said Nigeria will join in the signing of the Global Pact in due course. From the National Assembly, we brought you a report on Senate approval of interim support for IDPs. The Senate adopted a motion urging the federal government to release grains from its strategic reserves as an interim measure to assist internally displaced persons in Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe states who have returned to their villages. The Senate also received 3 executive bills seeking domestication of some bilateral agreements between Nigeria and 3 countries.
Direct the Senate Committee on Appropriation to allocate the sum of 10 billion under service-wide for relocation and resettlement of IDP returnees.
In a related development, the House of Representatives urged the federal government to provide fertilizers at no cost to the returning internally displaced persons in the Northeast geopolitical zone. On agriculture, efforts are underway by the federal government to create 7,000 job opportunities in the agricultural sector. Minister of Agriculture, who represented President Muhammadu Buhari at the Regional Forum on Youths in Agriculture in Abuja, says about 20,000 youths will be empowered in the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory.
We hope that some 18,000 university graduates will be developed into young agri-business entrepreneurs called Nagropreneurs for value chain addition and the utilization of these industrial parks.
We need the youth of today not only to grow food, we need them to be producers agro-processors, agro-industrialists, agro-entrepreneurs of tomorrow.
The Federal Capital Territory Administration said it will welcome more Chinese investments in the nation's capital, particularly in the areas of agriculture and waste management. FCT Minister Mohammed Musa Bello stated this in Abuja during a meeting with Nigeria-China Business Council earlier in the week.
We need investment in the city to generate employment and also generate taxes and all the other multiplier benefits that you get when you have a very robust business environment.
From business segments, we reported that the African Petroleum Producers Association, APPA, and the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, signed a memorandum of understanding to boost cooperation in the energy sector and related activities. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has inaugurated the Ministerial Task Force on digital switchover to ensure that the June 2017 deadline is achieved.
The thing about this particular deadline is that as of today, we have agreed with all other ECOWAS member states that July 2017 will be the deadline. To that effect, uniform equipments, uniform transmission channels have been agreed for all the member states.
That's the much we have for you on this week's edition of Weekend Review. The news continues.
Thanks, Obiageli. And for stories making headlines in other parts of the world, Olayinka Ojo is our guide.
Over 400 squatters on Hussein Farm in Mombasa, Kenya, have been left homeless after police officers demolished their houses and set their bedding on fire. At least 200 structures were demolished and squatters evicted amid tear gas and gunshots. 30 police officers and prison wardens were deployed to conduct the eviction. The squatters complained they were not given eviction notice or served with demolition orders. Elsewhere, at least 62 passengers and crew members have died after a Fly Dubai plane crashed during an attempted landing in Russia, Rostov-on-Don. Reports say 44 of the passengers were Russian, 8 were Ukrainian, 2 were Indian, and 1 was from Uzbekistan. The plane was believed to be a Boeing 737 operated by Emirates Airline, which started flying mid-2009. And from Turkey comes a report that at least 5 people, including a suicide bomber, have been killed and 36 injured in a suicide attack in Istanbul's Istiklal Street near Taksim Square. 3 Israeli tourists have been confirmed among the injured. Olayinka Ojo, NTA News.